Would your parents still love you if you were broke? I decided to find out. I told them my $14 million deal fell through, and their reaction was colder than any business deal I've ever signed. If you've ever felt like your family only values you for what you can do for them rather than who you are, you're in the right place. This is the story of how a $14 million lie exposed my family's true colors. My name is Fiona Vance. I'm 34 years old, and exactly 11 days ago I cashed out. I sold my boutique architecture firm for a cool $14 million. That evening, as the sun set over our patio, my husband, Garrett, looked at me with a look I couldn't quite read. He didn't say congratulations. Instead, he gave me a challenge that flipped my entire world upside down. He told me, "Tell them the acquisition crashed. Tell them the deal is dead." So I did. I pulled the trigger on a lie. Within 96 hours, my own mother had listed my old childhood bedroom on Airbnb for $89 a night. This is the room where I spent my teenage years, featuring a custom window seat I literally built with my own 2 hands when I was 16. By day 7, my sister, Chloe, sent me a cold-blooded text effectively uninviting me from her high-end wedding. Apparently, my mother had pulled her aside and whispered that if I showed up, empty-handed and struggling, it would be an embarrassment to the family brand. My dad, he just went ghost. Total radio silence. What went down on day 12, when Garrett decided to wire $50,000 to each of them anyway, is why I'm sitting here talking to you today. But honestly, it's what they chose to do with that cash that still keeps me staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Welcome back to Real Reddit Revenge. This is where we dive deep into the family dynamics that no one warns you about, the moments where blood isn't thicker than water, it's thinner than a balance sheet. If these stories hit home for you, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a chapter of this unfolding drama. For the last 6 years, I haven't just been a daughter, I've been an unpaid consultant. I've handled my parents' property taxes every single season. My mother honestly wouldn't know the county assessor if he walked up and shook her hand. She doesn't know deadlines. She just knows my cell digits and how to fire off a text that says, "Fee, can you take care of this?" I've fronted my dad's country club dues 3 years running because he forgot the renewal notice. That's $4,200 a pop, over 12 grand total. He thanked me once, briefly, but he made sure to thank the club manager twice for keeping his tea time. When my sister Chloe's wedding venue hit a major snag with a zoning permit, the reception tent was technically violating a city ordinance. I spent my weekend calling in favors from heavy-hitting contractors I've worked with for years. I got that permit pushed through in 9 days. Chloe's response: she told Mom the venue worked it out. My name wasn't even mentioned. In the Vance household, the roles are crystal clear. Mom texts me when something is broken and needs a professional fix. She calls Chloe when she wants someone to look cute in a photo, organize a brunch, or help her pick out a filter for her garden club posts. Chloe handles the social PR, the RSVPs, the holiday cards, the aesthetic. We're both on the clock for Mom, just in different departments. That's the reality people don't see. My mother doesn't have a favorite. She has an organizational structure. I'm the head of operations, the one who grinds, files the paperwork, and bullies the vendors into submission. Chloe is the VP of Public Relations, the one who smiles, photographs perfectly, and keeps the Vance family looking elite on Instagram. My phone vibrates. It's Chloe. "Hey, can you deal with the florist? I'm drowning in bridesmaid dress fittings." I've been project managing my sister's entire wedding for 4 months now. The flowers, the catering, the permits. It's basically thousands of dollars in free labor I've donated. Chloe hasn't asked me a single question about my firm's acquisition, but she definitely needs the peonies handled. In our house, asking for a favor is the only way they know how to check in. My husband, Garrett, said something a few nights ago that I can't shake. We were out on the deck after the kids finally crashed. He set his drink down and gave me a look like he was analyzing a bad investment. He asked, "Fee, when was the last time anyone in your family called you just to say hello, without an invoice attached?" I opened my mouth to defend them, but nothing came out. I checked my call logs later that night. 8 months of history. 43 calls from my mother. Every single one was a request for service. Can you check Dad's insurance? The roofer is being difficult, call him. Chloe needs a deposit for the caterer. Did you handle the tax extension? Not a single, how are you? Not one thinking of you. I wasn't a daughter, I was a 24/7 help desk. But here's the kicker. I cornered Chloe a few days later and asked her how often Mom calls her just to chat. Chloe laughed in my face. Mom doesn't chat, Fee, she delegates. Last week it was the neighbor's retirement card. The week before it was the church bake sale. My mother doesn't play favorites because she isn't running a family. She's running a dispatch center. The only difference is that Chloe hasn't realized she's an employee yet. She thinks being managed is the same thing as being close. I used to think that too. I thought being useful was the same thing as being loved. Garrett didn't have to explain it. He just planted that one question, and it grew into a forest of doubt. When was the last time they called you without needing something? I'm still waiting for an answer. My firm was the Vance Design Group. We specialized in sustainable commercial architecture, turning old warehouses into LEED-certified hubs and building county libraries. I started it in a cramped studio above a laundromat 8 years ago with my life savings of $11,000 and a wobbly drafting table. 14 months ago, a massive national conglomerate called Titan Engineering reached out. They wanted our tech, our portfolio, and our soul. It was 8 months of grueling due diligence and negotiations that made my jaw ache from stress. But I fought for my people. I made sure all 47 of my employees kept their seats. That meant more to me than the payout. The payout was $14 million, cash. The deal officially closed on a random Tuesday. I signed the paperwork in my lawyer's office with a cheap plastic pen. Garrett brought over a bottle of grocery store bubbly. My lead architect, Sarah, actually teared up in the hallway. I built an empire while I was busy filing my parents' taxes and fixing my sister's permits. I built it in the gaps of a family that only noticed I existed when their sink leaked or their taxes were due. $14 million. I picked up my phone to call my mom. I wanted just once to hear her say she was proud of what I built from nothing. Then I put the phone back down. I knew the script. She'd say, "That's nice, honey," and in the next breath, she'd ask if I'd called the insurance adjuster yet. She would just file my life's work into her done pile. And the saddest part, I would have let her, because that's the Vance way. $14 million later, and the only thing I felt was a bone-deep exhaustion. Later that night, sitting at the kitchen table with flat champagne, Garrett watched me. Our kids, Mia and Leo, were fast asleep. They don't care that their mom is a millionaire. They just care that I make the big buildings. Garrett is a financial analyst. He spent 9 years watching my family treat me like a service provider. He didn't suggest a test. He just said, "Before you tell them you're rich, just don't, for 1 week. See who actually notices you when you aren't fixing their lives." I told him I didn't want to lie. He shrugged. "You don't have to lie, just don't volunteer information." But I'm not good at silence, so I compromised. I sent a text to my mother. "Hey Mom, the acquisition fell through. It's been a really brutal week." I gave her the perfect opening. A chance to be a mother, to call me and ask, "Are you okay? What do you need?" Her reply hit my phone 14 minutes later. "Oh man, that's too bad. Can you still handle Chloe's caterer? She's really stressed about the tasting." As far as she knew, my career had just imploded. Her response wasn't a hug. It was a status check on her open tickets. I was a failed asset in her system, and she was just checking if the operations department was still functional. The Vance family system doesn't pause for tragedy, it just reroutes. Day 1, Mom never called. I checked her socials. 3 stories about Chloe's dress fitting, a champagne toast, a caption that read, "Mother of the bride vibes," meanwhile. Her other daughter was supposedly facing financial ruin, but I wasn't on the content calendar, so I didn't exist. Day 1 evening, Dad called. It was short. "You hanging in there, kiddo?" Before I could even sigh, I heard Mom yelling that dinner was ready. "Gotta run, talk soon." Click, he never called back. Day 2, Chloe texted a novel, 47 words about flower arrangements and peonies. At the very bottom, almost like an afterthought, she wrote, "Mom mentioned the work stuff. Major bummer. Anyway, the florist needs a check by Thursday." I scrolled through my text history with my mother, 8 months of data. It looked like a Jira board. File this, call him, handle that. Not a single thinking of you. I wasn't a daughter. I was a vendor with a $0 invoice. Garrett just watched from the kitchen, arms crossed. The silence between us said more than any argument could. I handled the florist. I picked the peonies. I chose the low-profile vases because I'm an architect. I know how sight lines work. I solved her problems even while she was dismissing my collapsing career with a major bummer. And for the first time in my life, I felt disgusted with my own efficiency. Day 3, total silence from my parents. Chloe posted a photo of a bridesmaid brunch. 7 girls, matching gift bags, tons of laughs. I wasn't invited. I wasn't even in the group chat. Day 4, my old college roommate Jess sent me a screenshot. "Wait, Fee, isn't this your parents' place?" It was an Airbnb listing. My childhood room. $89 a night. She'd taken 3 photos, the fresh white sheets, the lavender I'd dried myself, and the window seat I'd built with my dad's tools. The description read, "Charming guest room, recently refreshed, quiet and garden view." Recently refreshed. She'd scrubbed my identity out of that room in 48 hours. I zoomed in. My nameplate was gone. The window seat had a pillow that just said guest. Garrett looked over my shoulder. He didn't call her cruel. He said something that cut deeper. "She's not mad at you, Fee. She's just reallocating the space. You were an occupant, now you're not. It's just logistics." My mother didn't list the room to be mean. She listed it because, in her world, I was no longer a contributing asset, and idle space is a waste of revenue. It was cold, corporate, and perfectly on brand. Day 5, I called my dad. Voicemail, I texted, "Just checking in, Dad." He read it at 2:14 p.m. No reply. That night he posted a photo at the wedding venue. Big smile in front of a gazebo. Proud dad moment, 6 weeks to go. I'd been shelved. Day 6, he finally picked up. His voice sounded like he was reading off a teleprompter. "Look, kiddo, we're just really underwater with Chloe's wedding. You understand, right?" You understand. The classic Vance family phrase. My job was to understand their neglect. Garrett told me later, "Your dad doesn't make choices. He just follows the routing. Your mom stopped sending your files to his desk, so as far as he knows, your ticket is closed. He's not ignoring you, he's just not assigned to you anymore." I wanted to defend the man who taught me, measure twice, cut once. But how do you defend a father who outsourced his love to a dispatch system? Day 7, 9:47 a.m., the final blow from Chloe. "Fee, Mom called. She thinks if you come to the wedding without a real gift, it'll be super awkward for the guests. With your firm going under and all, maybe it's best if you just skip this one. Sorry." I read it 4 times. This wasn't Chloe being a bridezilla. This was a corporate directive. My mother did the math. Broke Fiona equals no gift equals social deficit. Therefore, remove the liability from the guest list. I had managed her vendors for 4 months for free. I had saved her venue. I had done thousands of dollars in billable project management, but my mother's ledger doesn't value labor. It only values cash and optics. And right now, my balance was 0. Garrett found me sitting on the bathroom floor. I wasn't even crying. I was just doing the mental math. I fixed everything for them, and they cut me because I couldn't buy a blender. That night, Garrett sat me down with a piece of paper. He didn't write a list. He drew an org chart. At the top, Diane Vance, CEO. Under her, 2 branches. Operations me, taxes, permits, insurance, maintenance. Public relations, Chloe, socials, RSVPs, parties. At the bottom, admin Dad, routing requests and providing emotional padding. "Your family isn't a family, Fee," Garrett said. "It's a corporation, and you just got laid off." I looked at the chart. Every holiday, every phone call, every favor fit perfectly into those boxes. My mother didn't love Chloe more. She just invested more into the asset that was currently trending. Chloe was the wedding asset. I was the bankrupt asset. So what now? I asked. We stop being an asset, he replied. We become a person and see if they even recognize us. Day 8, my senior architect, Sarah, sent me a screenshot at 1:15 p.m. Her husband is a distant cousin of ours. He's in a group chat called Vance Family Updates. I've never been invited to it. It's existed for 2 years. The messages from the last 3 days were haunting. Mom, Fiona's business tanked. She can't chip in for the wedding anymore. Chloe, so do I need a new florist coordinator? She was doing mine. Dad, let's give her space, she'll figure it out. Translation, close the ticket. And then, the message that broke me. Mom, I'm listing her room. No point in keeping it empty if she isn't contributing anymore. She didn't list it because she hated me. She listed it because I went offline. And in this company, if you aren't producing, you're evicted. I am nothing more than an idle resource to her. In her logic, my childhood room was just an underperforming asset. Both were reallocated the second they weren't turning a profit. And the kicker, my sister, Chloe, was texting me about floral arrangements in one thread while that group chat was actively discussing my replacement in another. Running 2 parallel tracks, milking my free labor while simultaneously writing me off. That's not just being mean, that's resource management. You don't fire the contractor until the building is finished. My standing in this family was always just a line item on a spreadsheet, and the second that line hit 0, the system auto-corrected in record time. It wasn't out of spite, it was out of efficiency. That night I showed Garrett the screenshots. He read them over twice, his face hardening. Contributing, I said, my voice as flat as a structural report. That's my name, I'm a contribution. And Chloe isn't worried about my life falling apart. She's worried about losing her free wedding coordinator. The whole family tree runs on deliverables. Garrett looked at me and said, "You just gotta look at their production schedule, Fee." I didn't hesitate. I picked up my phone and called Claudia, the attorney who helped me sign the $14 million deal. I need you to set up a trust for my kids, and I need 3 wire transfers drafted, $50,000 each. To who? She asked. My mother, my father, and my sister. Claudia went quiet. She'd been at the closing party. She'd seen my mom checking her phone during my victory toast. Fiona, are you sure? It's not a gift, Claudia. It's a final invoice for 9 years of unpaid labor, and I want a receipt. She told me she'd have the paperwork by Friday. I told her to make it Monday, day 12. After I hung up, I walked to the fridge. The wedding invitation was still there, cream paper, gold leaf, my name in calligraphy held up by a sunflower magnet. I didn't pull it down, not yet. I wasn't ready to officially cancel the last subscription this family had in my name. The money goes out on day 12. I gave myself 4 days. 4 days to feel the full weight of this before I closed the account for good. Day 9, my friend Jess sent another screenshot. My mom's Airbnb listing got its first review, 5 stars. Lovely room, charming window seat. Diane was a fantastic host. A total stranger slept in my bed, on the window seat I built when I was 16, and left a rave review about my mother's hospitality. Mom had already rebranded the listing. It wasn't daughter's old room anymore. It was now the Garden View Suite. My room never had a name when I lived in it. Now that I'm gone, it has a brand. I screenshotted the review and saved it in a folder labeled architecture. I file things that hurt under things I understand. Garrett saw the review. She's not replacing you, Fee. She's monetizing the vacancy. Monetizing the vacancy. Turning my memory into square footage. Calculating the nightly yield on a room that used to hold her child. That evening, I sat at my drafting desk for the first time since the sale. I sketched that window seat from memory. Every joint. Every measurement. The backrest tilted exactly 12 degrees because I wanted it to feel like leaning against a sturdy tree. I built it with my dad's tools. I can still hear him saying, "You've got good hands, Fee," 18 years ago. Those tools are still in his garage, but my window seat now belongs to a woman named Karen from Stamford. The listing had been viewed 340 times. My mother shared the link in the family group chat. the one I'm not in. Idle asset redeployed, 5 stars. At bedtime, my daughter Mia asked, "Mommy, are we going to Aunt Chloe's wedding?" I stroked her hair. "I don't think so, sweetie." "Good," she whispered. "Her house smells like floor wax." Garrett laughed from the hallway, the first real, honest sound I'd heard in over a week. I let out a small, careful smile. After the kids were out, we sat on the porch, crickets and the scent of cut grass. I looked at the glass wall I designed the year my son was born. Every beam was calculated for strength. "Your mom once told me you were the practical one," Garrett said. He was drinking water, not wine. He wanted to keep his head clear for this. I remember. She said it like it was a job title, not a personality trait. In her world, practical is a department. I'm the one who fixes the mess. Chloe is the one who shows up for the photos. We're both on the clock, we just never got a paycheck. He took my hand. In my world, practical means you built a multi-million-dollar empire from scratch. I leaned into him. "I'm not doing this for revenge, Garrett. I'm doing it for Mia and Leo, so they never grow up thinking love comes with terms and conditions." My phone buzzed on the railing. A calendar alert from 6 months ago, Kelsey's rehearsal dinner, confirm headcount. I picked it up, deleted the alert, and turned it face down. Day 10, I drove to my parents' place to grab a box of my daughter's baby clothes. No one was there. They were at the venue for yet another walkthrough, Chloe's third this week. The house smelled like cinnamon and polish. For 26 years, I thought that smell meant safety. Now I know it's just a fragrance. I found the box in the attic and headed down. Passing my mother's office, I saw her desk drawer was cracked open. The antique desk she uses to manage her social PR career. I didn't mean to snoop, but a folder tab caught my eye. It said, "Family Management." I pulled it out. It was a printed spreadsheet. My mother's tight cursive was all over the margins. 4 columns: name, CONTRIBUTONS, BNEFITS, balance. My row. Gave, tax filings, country club dues, venue permits, florist management, insurance claims, kitchen reno PM. Received, Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas gifts, AVG, $85, birthday calls. Balance, a handwritten note in the margin, over-delivering. Chloe's row. Gave, RSVPs, social calendar, IG posts, holiday cards. Received, $8,000 wedding fund, bridal shower hosting. Balance, on track. My father. Gave, yard work, house maintenance. Received, golf membership via Fiona. Balance, positive. My mother keeps a ledger for her own children. I was a line item with a performance review. Chloe was a KPI meeting her targets. I photographed every single page, put it back exactly as I found it, and drove home shaking. When Garrett saw the photos, he was silent for a long time. "She has a balance column," he whispered, "for her own kids." "I'm over-delivering, Garrett. That's why I was the favorite. I was the highest-yielding asset." I called Claudia immediately. "Adjust the kids' trust. $500,000 each for Mia and Leo. Irrevocable. And one more thing. Set up a $25,000 annual scholarship at my old architecture school. Call it the Balance Fund. It's for students from families who treated them like resources instead of people. I want to tip the scales back for the kids who are over-delivering, for parents who only know how to extract." Garrett stood by me as I hung up. "She wrote over-delivering like it was a quarterly earnings report," I said. "You build things that last, Fee," he said, pulling me in. "She builds spreadsheets to keep score. You aren't even in the same industry. If you're watching this and you feel like your family has a hidden ledger, I see you. Stay with me, because what happens in the next 48 hours is something I never could have predicted. Drop a comment if you've ever felt like a line item in your own home, and make sure you're subscribed for the finale." Day 11, the rehearsal dinner weekend. My Instagram feed exploded at 4 p.m. The Davenport estate, fairy lights, 68 guests, Chloe in a champagne dress looking perfect. People started texting me, "Fee, where are you? Why aren't you at the dinner?" I ignored them all. Chloe's caption read, "Surrounded by the people who matter most." 68 people. My labor was in every centerpiece on those tables. My name wasn't even in the building. Nora called me. She tagged everyone, Fiona. Cousins, aunts, even the caterer. But not you. It's like you've been deleted. I was never in the directory, Nora. I was on the vendor list. That night, I sat at my laptop and drafted my boundary letter. I'm an architect. I don't build on emotion. I build on load-bearing facts. Tomorrow is day 12. The wires are scheduled. 3 payments of $50,000. Memo. From the woman you wrote off. I checked on my daughter, tucked her in, and went back to my desk. I opened that architecture folder. Airbnb. Chloe's empty-handed text. The idle asset group chat. The spreadsheet. 11 days of evidence. 34 years of being an operational asset. Garrett came down at 2 a.m. You don't have to do this, you know. I know. That's why I'm doing it. For the first time, this isn't an assignment from my mother's queue. It's my choice. I opened the banking app. 3 transfers. $50K each. I didn't hit send yet. I don't sign off on demolitions in the dark. The invitation was still on the fridge. One last night of pretending they wanted me for me and not my utility. 6 a.m. Alarm. I put on my gray blazer, the one I wore to sell my company. 6:15 a.m. Kitchen table. 3 taps. Send, send, send. I made coffee and waited. 7:22 a.m. Dad, Fiona, what is this? No good morning. Just confusion. 7:41 a.m. Chloe, why did you send me 50 grand? What's the catch? 8:03 a.m. Mom calls. I let it go to voicemail. Fiona Ann, you call me this instant. What is this transaction? Her voice wasn't worried. It was offended. I had disrupted her ledger. Garrett came down with the kids. How do you feel? Like I just filed a demolition permit, I said. Clean, necessary, irreversible. I walked to the fridge, grabbed that gold-lettered invitation, and dropped it in the recycling bin. Not the trash, the recycling. I'm an architect. I believe in repurposing materials into something that actually holds weight. Mom called 6 times by noon. Voicemail 1, confusion. Voicemail 3, crying. What did we do to deserve this? Voicemail 5, bargaining. Let's talk like adults. Voicemail 6, rage. This is absurd, Fiona. Chloe sent a wall of text. Are you trying to humiliate me before my big day? Dad, kiddo, please just tell us what's happening. Nora called at lunch. Your mom is telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown. That's her cover story. The group chat screenshot came in from Greg. Mom, she sent us $50K each. She's lost her mind. Chloe, maybe she got a small settlement. Dad, just leave it alone, Diane. Mom, no, she's clearly trying to make a point. They received $150,000, and not one of them considered that I might actually be successful. Their system doesn't have a code for Fiona wins. In their org chart, operations doesn't generate revenue, it just fixes things. 2 p.m., I sent the group text, my project closeout memo. The acquisition of Vance Design Group closed 12 days ago for $14 million. The deal didn't fall through. I told you it did to see if you actually cared about me. In 11 days, Mom listed my room, Chloe uninvited me because I was bankrupt, and Dad vanished. The $50,000 each is your severance. Consider our professional relationship terminated. Do not contact my husband. Do not come to my house. I put the phone in a drawer and shut it. Garrett read the copy. That is the most architect text in history. Final deliverable submitted. Account closed. The group chat exploded. Mom, she set us up. Chloe, I can't believe she'd be this cruel. Dad, 22 minutes later. We need to talk about this as a family. The irony of him wanting to root a conversation now, after a week of silence, was almost poetic. It was severance. 9 years of unpaid service. The vendor had officially terminated the contract. Mom called from a burner number at 7 p.m. I picked up once. She was sobbing. How could you do this to us, to Chloe, right before the wedding? Every word was about their loss, not a single word about what they'd done to me. You listed my room in 4 days, Mom, I said. I'm just following your lead on resource management. That was just logistics, Fiona, she snapped. You called it recently refreshed. You literally swapped my nameplate for a throw pillow that says guest. Silence crackled on the line. Then the classic deflection. You're making this all about you. You always do this. For the first time in my life, Mom, it actually is about me. I hung up and set the phone down. My hands didn't shake. These are an architect's hands. They are built for precision, for construction, and for knowing exactly when a structure has become too unstable to repair. Chloe didn't bother calling. She sent a text. You officially ruined my wedding week. Hope you're happy. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a reply. Chloe wasn't actually mad at her sister. She was mad that her favorite service provider had filed a formal complaint with HR. In her world, I was supposed to process the permits, handle the flowers, and then exit through the service entrance so the real show could go on. My job was never to be a guest at the wedding. My job was to build the stage. Then came the voicemail from my dad. His voice was raw, actually breaking for once. I don't get what happened, Fee. I love you. But he didn't say I'm sorry. He didn't say my mother was out of line. He just asked, can we just go back to normal? Normal? The word I've lived under for 9 years. Normal means I deliver, I pay the bills, and I never ask for a thank you. The system hums along on my sweat until the next request is logged. I'm officially done with normal. Day 13. My banking app pinged 3 times. My mother deposited her $50,000 at 9:12 a.m. Chloe cashed hers at 11:47 a.m. My father followed suit at 1:08 p.m. All 3 of them took the money within 18 hours of calling me manipulative, unstable, and cruel. They cashed the checks, every cent, and then went right back to the story where I was the villain. I showed Garrett the deposit alerts. He just nodded slowly. They measured your value in dollars for 30 years, Fee. They just proved the math was right. Day 14, Chloe's wedding day. I didn't go. I didn't even peek at the live stream, but the photos flooded my feed anyway. Nora, Jess, and cousins were all posting stories. There was my mother in lavender silk, my father giving a heartfelt toast. 68 guests under glowing string lights. The roses were climbing the pillars exactly how I'd planned. Those low-profile centerpieces I chose so people could see across the room, they looked perfect. My architectural eye was in every corner of that room. My name wasn't mentioned once. Chloe's hashtag was Love Wins. I closed the app. That spreadsheet flashed in my mind, my mother's balance column. I gave them 10 times what my mom had budgeted for Chloe's entire wedding fund, and they took it without a second thought. In the Vance family ledger, I had made one final deposit. Even my goodbye was a transaction. Even walking away became a line item. They took the cash and went to the party without me. I want you to really sit with that. They cashed the checks, and then they celebrated my absence. If you've ever given your soul to people who only ever counted what you brought to the table, this next part is for you. Stay with me. We're at the finish line. The second week, I was back in Claudia's office. Same leather chairs, same smell of expensive paper, but the vibe was different. Claudia drafted a boundary framework, not a restraining order, but a formal legal notification sent via certified mail to every family member. It was a no-contact request. Any future words would go through her desk. Claudia looked at me over her glasses. This isn't about revenge, is it? It's about structure, Claudia. Every solid building needs load-bearing walls. These are mine. We finalized the trust for Mia and Leo, $500,000 each for their futures, managed by a third party, irrevocable. Then I signed the papers for the scholarship, $25,000 a year for architecture students who grew up as resources instead of children. The balance fund. My mother used her spreadsheet to track what people owed her. I built a fund that gives without a debit entry. No KPIs, no performance reviews, just money for the kids who are over-delivering in systems that were never going to let them win. Driving home, I passed my old studio above the laundromat. It's a yoga place now. Something real started in that cramped room. And while I was building a future, the people who were supposed to love me were tracking my output on a spreadsheet. Week 3. I wrote the final letter myself, 3 copies, certified mail. It wasn't an emotional rant, it was a punch list of facts. Paragraph 1, the Airbnb listing. Dates, price, and the quote recently refreshed. Paragraph 2, Chloe's on invitation. The gift threshold as the reason. Paragraph 3, the family group chat. 2 years of being excluded while they talked about my output. Paragraph 4, the spreadsheet. 4 columns, performance ratings. Over-delivering written in my mom's hand next to my name. The closing line. I spent 9 years as a line item in this family. I built a $14 million company, and when you thought it was gone, you closed my account in 11 days. This door isn't closed forever, but it's closed until you learn the difference between a daughter and a vendor. I finally had the answer to Garrett's question. When was the last time they called without needing something? The answer was never, for both of us. The only difference is that I stopped accepting the terms of the contract. I mailed the letters on a Tuesday, the same day the acquisition closed, the same day I signed my $14 million life into existence. Garrett drove me to the post office. We didn't need to talk. The load calculations were done. The stress tests were over. The foundation was set. Month 2, my mother responded, not to the lawyer, but to Facebook. When you give your kids everything and they still walk away, a mother's heart never stops breaking. 47 comments of "You're such a saint, Diane." No one saw the spreadsheet. No one knew she'd labeled her own kid, over-delivering, like a corporate performance review. Then, the shift. Nora got a call from my mom at work. Tell my daughter she can't just erase her family. Nora didn't hold back. Diane, Fiona sold the company months ago. She's a multimillionaire. I work for the new conglomerate now. Silence. She sold it for, how much? 14 million. 2 months ago, click. Nora told me about it over lunch. Mom found out from a colleague because she never bothered to ask me. Within the hour, a new Facebook post appeared. So proud of my daughter's incredible business success. From grief to pride in under 60 minutes. The pivot was so fast it should have caused structural damage. She deleted the post 45 minutes later because even she realized you can't play the victim and the proud parent in the same afternoon. I didn't say a word. In a family that only notices noise, silence is the ultimate power move. Chloe called from her honeymoon in Turks and Caicos. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice sounded small, stripped of her wedding day ego. I just heard about the company, Fee. I didn't know. I'm so sorry about the wedding thing. Can we just go back? Go back to what? To the system where I fix the permits and she hits her social KPIs. I sent her one text. You uninvited me because Mom said I couldn't afford a gift. There is nothing to go back to. She replied that I wasn't being fair. I didn't respond. Fair isn't a word that exists in her ledger. Here's the thing about Chloe's apology. It wasn't "I was wrong to treat you that way." It was "I didn't know you were rich." The system hadn't changed. The balance sheet had. If I had actually been broke, she'd still be celebrating with her 68 guests, eating over centerpieces her bankrupt sister arranged for free. Month 3, a letter arrived from my dad. It was shaky, handwritten. Fiona, I don't know how to fix this. I should have called. I should have asked. I didn't because it was easier to just let your mother handle the routing. I cashed the check because she told me to. I should have sent it back. I love you, I just never learned how to love without being told how. I cried, actual quiet tears for the first time in weeks. I showed Garrett. It's real, he said, but it's not enough. He was right. Genuine feelings without a change in behavior is just a blueprint without a building. It doesn't keep the rain out. I wrote back, Dad, I believe you love me, but love without action is architecture without a foundation. Do the work. Go to therapy. Acknowledge the spreadsheet. Call Claudia when you're ready. Not me, Claudia. Then a package for my daughter, Mia, a soft blue stuffed rabbit. Tag said, From Grandma. No note for me, no agenda. For 3 seconds, my mother wasn't a system. She was just a woman who missed her grandkid. Then I noticed there was no return address. Even this gift was rooted to avoid the confrontation. Month 4, the Airbnb listing for the Garden View Suite vanished. 17 reviews, 4.8 stars, gone. I didn't feel like I'd won. I just felt the emptiness where the brand used to be. My mother stopped posting. My father stopped going to the club. Nora ran into Mom at the grocery store. "Tell Fiona I took the listing down," my mother said. "Tell her yourself," Nora replied. "But she won't take your call, Diane, that's the point." I didn't celebrate. I sat at my desk and started a new project, a community art center pro bono, my first design since the sale. It felt lighter, like a building that didn't have to justify its existence. The rainy day was over. The system was offline. Month 5, I'm consulting for the big firm 3 days a week. The other 2 days, I'm with Mia and Leo. We build blanket forts and cardboard cities. Leo calls me the Builder Lady, which is the most honest title I've ever held. Mabel's 6th birthday was a backyard bash. 14 kids, a bouncy castle, and 0 family drama. No one from the org chart was invited. They didn't need to be. Garrett raised a glass of lemonade. To the woman who built a $14 million company and a family that actually shows up. I raised mine to closing the ledger. Here's the final status report. My mother returned the $50,000 check 3 months later with a note saying, "I never needed your money." But she kept the Airbnb cash. She hasn't called the lawyer. She hasn't started therapy. She still hasn't acknowledged the spreadsheet. Chloe and Trent haven't reached out since the honeymoon. She unfollowed me. Questioning the system would mean admitting she was a part of it, and that's a bill she's not ready to pay. My father called Claudia. He asked what doing the work looked like. He booked an appointment with a therapist. He hasn't contacted me directly, which means he's finally respecting a boundary. The first thing he's ever done that wasn't rooted through my mother. I noticed, Dad, I noticed. The $150,000 was eventually returned or donated. The money wasn't the point. The point was the receipt, the proof of what 11 days without utility looked like. I don't check the group chats anymore. That server has been decommissioned. I'm building something new now, in a house I designed, for children who will never have a balance column written next to their names. I used to think family was a permanent, load-bearing structure. But I realized some walls are just partitions put up by people who want to control the floor plan. My mother wasn't a monster. She was a CEO who laid off a daughter when she stopped being useful. So I took those walls down, and guess what? The house is still standing. That's my story. 11 days, a few wire transfers, and a family that ran on a ledger. If this reminded you to check whether you're a daughter or a vendor, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for being part of Real Reddit Revenge. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.